Gil Petersil, thank you
Hey,
for coming
happy
into
to
the
be
studio.
here.
What do you think? You're actually the first guest in the new setup. What do you reckon?
I love the setup. I like wood. It's just I like green. This is totally my style. I'm being inspired by what I want my own studio.
Yeah, well, this is the Bali theme, and it's also part of why I wanted to bring you into the studio because it's all well and good doing things online, but when we can have face-to-face conversations in this weird world that we're living in now, it's a rare
Doesn't
it's a
happen.
rare
Yeah.
treat.
Out of all my interviews so far, this is one of the first ones I'm doing live, so it feels special.
Very good. So you sent me an email the other day telling me a little bit about yourself. You said that you're a passionate student of human networking, co-owner of 7 international businesses, leading regional partner for Tony Robbins, visiting professor at multiple global universities, best-selling author, and a serial entrepreneur who's mentored 200 plus companies. And you've presented at 1,000 plus events and 150 plus interviews, or 151 now.
It's a little bit about myself, except for the dozens of successful failures that I've had in my life. You know, it's something that I'm very proud of. Failing in business is awesome. You get to learn a lot.
Yeah. So what are you known for? What are you known for?
So in some countries, I'm known as the networking guy. I'm known as that because about 8 years ago, I was asked to come and speak at a university for MBA students about the art and sciences of networking for entrepreneurs. I didn't know what I was talking about, but apparently they said I do. So I put together a presentation and I presented it, and I got coined as that networking guy. And I don't mind that because I believe that it's something that has not been touched upon enough in this in our society. People think that a networking event is connecting with people and exchanging cards, but I like to be known as that because it pushes me to study it more, and it pushes me to be a leader and to understand how deep it really goes.
So, I mean, it kind of occurs to me that in the world of networking, like you pointed out, a lot of people kind of use it as shark tactics. It's like, here's my card, I'll get your card. And it's very surface level kind of interactions.
Yeah.
In the world that I'm in, you know, I'm teaching people about leverage, and the phrase that I kind of use is 1 + 1 = 11, right? And that is when you bring 2 people of, you know, real synergy together, you can, you know, have exponential growth. So is that kind of the theme of why you love this world?
I actually teach that 1 + 1 = 3.
Okay.
And there's scientific proof behind it.
Yeah.
Because when 2 human beings start to vibrate next to each other, a third gets created. And it's because when our auras start to meet and vibrate, how we share and how we think and how we perceive each other, that third becomes much more powerful than we are. So the third is the actual relationship that we can choose to nourish.
Yeah.
So I love the depth of networking because it allows you to, you know, look at the people's lives through the moments that they share with you. It allows you to be compassionate with people and just listen to them for a while and see what journey they've been on. It allows me to learn constantly because I didn't do well in school. I failed out of many, many high schools, never went to college or university. And by meeting people, I get to learn. I get to find my mentors. I get to be inspired. And I choose to always activate my curious mindset. They're like, wow, tell me more about who you are. This is exciting for me. Most people, they do the whole business exchange thing because they've never been taught how to network. They don't know how to do it. And all they're actually telling you is, please like me. That's all they want. When they talk too much and sell too much, all they're actually trying to do is telling, please like me. I'd like to make new friends.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to do that.
That's very interesting. So tell me about the businesses that you're involved in. Is that in that field, or is it you're using your gifts?
So networking, in my opinion, is a set of habits. It's a set of habits that any human being can pick up. I was not born a networker. I think we're all born with an ability to connect with other human beings. But I was born an introvert. I still am an introvert till this date. I've tested myself many, many, many times because people told me, no, you're not. But yes, I am. But I'm an introvert who's been able to hack himself and step out of his shell and constantly been able to challenge myself to expand my network, to expand my horizons when it comes to building relationships. All of the businesses that I've built in my life have always been about, can I connect with some people and do something great? And a lot of them went bust because I didn't really know how to manage the business. I didn't understand how do you manage the internal network of the company. So something that you're probably very, very good at is, creating that systems and scaling the business up and building something that works when you go to sleep. That's only come into my life in the last 5 years through a lot of education with like Tony Robbins, how do you become a business owner and not a business operator? But for so many years, I was like meeting people, it's exciting opportunities, boom, build a business, build a juice bar, build a mobile app company, build a restaurant, build an events company, like yay. But okay, someone needs to run it. Okay, I have no idea what to do. I got bored, I left. So what I've learned is that networking has allowed me to bring people together. So I started to do a lot more events, and I would build an events company, and a training company, and coaching company. And now we have communities that are able to transact on their own. And every single time they transact and something happens within them, we're able to earn from that. We have a company, because I've met some of the most incredible people in the world, we have a company that's able to broker people. What does that mean? So we used to do recruitment, but now we stopped that. Now we just broker speakers or trainers, for example. If an organization or government wants a very, very unique speaker to cover a very specific topic, we can find that person.
But you do that in a very specific area of the world, right?
So when I went through my journey, my biggest journey of transformation happened to me while I was in Russia. I'm originally from Israel, and I was only born there, and I lived there until the age of 10. And then I did 10 years in Canada and almost 10 years in England, and that really allowed me to develop my sense of being and my sense of community. And when you disconnect with friends and you have to make new friends in new countries, you have to learn really how to network and how do you make new friends. So it gave me some low-level education, and it gave me a lot of time to experiment while having jobs, while wanting to make more money. It gave me some entrepreneurial experience. But it was Russia that got me to flourish. Russia is a very, very beautiful place. Today I'm married to an incredible Russian woman, and I have quite a few of my businesses in Russia. But Russia brought me in on a silver platter. Actually in Russia, it's a gold platter. And then it pushed me down, and I went through a massive breakdown because I realized that a lot of the friends I had around me were not the sort of people I wanted to have around me. And I had to learn how to disconnect from people. I had to learn, how do you break your network apart and then attract a brand new network? I'm not moving places. I'm not moving industries. I just have to stop being friends with people. And that happened in Russia. And I'm very grateful to this country for allowing me to go through that massive transition and pivot in my life where I've had to change my network, completely change my network. And since then, everything that I'm doing in Russia has managed to flourish quite a bit, even though I'm not Russian. I don't speak the language fluently. It's an incredible country, and it's just showed me that anyone could really build a business, build a network, and be successful anywhere in the world, as long as they're willing to connect with good people.
So do you think that is some kind of inherent talent for you to be able to go to another country and be able to integrate yourself and in such a way where you can be respected there, you can add value there? Because, a lot of people have got different stories about trying to do things all around the world and getting...
Now it is, and I've proven it to myself.
Yeah.
Because when I did it in Russia, people are like, you got lucky, you had some investors behind you, you got lucky. But then, 2.5 years ago, I picked my family up, and this time I was not alone. In past I was alone, so I was a single guy, it was easier. Wife and daughter, and picked up, boom, Singapore. Don't know anyone. Very, very quickly, build a network, connect to the right association, join the right business clubs. In the first 3 weeks in Singapore, I went to probably like 20 different events. I went to check out every single business club in the country. I went to make sure that I know the best art galleries, the best places to hang out. I organized a couple of networking events. And it was amazing to be able to be in a place that's brand new. And within 3 months, I'm able to organize a birthday party and have 50 people there. 50 people that I've just met, but I've met them so many times in the last few months that there was some level of connection.
Yeah.
And again, I did a few months ago here in Bali. Again, quickly connecting. And this is something that I was not born with.
Really?
It's something.
So you think anybody, any kind of personality spectrum,
yes,
can
every single person in the world that has goals, what they want to achieve, as long as you know why you're doing it, you'll be able to achieve it. If you're like, I want to do it because I want to make more money, you won't do it because then you're using people. But if you're doing it because you want to build a really special business, or you want to move your family somewhere else, or you're tired of your job and you want to change careers, or your business went down the hill, boom, done, crashed, bankrupt, and you got to start your life all over again, yes, you have to reset your network. Yeah. And there's a way to do it. I've taught hundreds of thousands of people around the world how to do it. People who were richer than me that needed to suddenly step out of that network that they have and go to become a little bit more humble and connecting with the spiritual side, or people that came from nothing and wanted to step up into a better position. You know, I've worked with farmers here in Bali that came from nothing. They're farmers, and I've helped them set up a business and connect with some really good quality people that are outside of their immediate network.
That's really interesting. So, do you what drives you? What drives you?
What drives me? What drives me? So a lot drives me. A lot drives me. I could tell you that having a couple of kids and that wake me up in the morning really drives me. That's definitely something that, you know, I want to be a great father for them. My incredible wife, who's an inspiration to me, pregnant now again, while having like pregnant women's circles and masterminds, and she has her own show on Instagram, and she inspires me and she drives me. Seeing sadness and poverty and, you know, suffering in the world drives me, because I've been there, done that. I've been poor and multiple times, and I have suffered, and I'm able to take that away from people quite easily. And I try to do that with respect to them, because they need to go through their own journey, but that drives me. Yeah. I have a lot of passions in life that really, really drives me.
It sounds to me like the connection that you have and make with people is a real undertone to what moves you.
Yeah, so everybody has different human needs in their lives, and one of my human needs is love and connection. And love and connection is this ability to connect with people. So I'm able to be alone because I'm an introvert, so I actually like my own time. Like I mentioned you earlier, on my birthday, I went up a mountain here in Bali for 3 days and just chilled on my own. It was nice. People were like, "What? You went on your own? You're Gil. You like networking?" No, actually, I'm an introvert. I love being on my own, which is one of the greatest things about COVID. You know, we're able to be on our own. I don't have to. I can get on a stage in front of 26,000 people, no problem. But I can also do it from the comfort of my own home while, you know, potentially not wearing long pants, and they don't know that, and that's awesome. You know, I love that.
And we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about, you know, the state of what's happening in 2020 with COVID and everything that's happening in the world, and obviously your methodologies have changed, and, you know, there's no longer face-to-face speaking and big events and stuff. But it's just changed. It's just changed, right? And it's opening up new opportunities. And we were talking before about, you know, it's almost pushing new technologies and new things that are kind of evolving. So what kind of excites you in that world, and what do you think people should be looking forward to in that space?
So I think that COVID has expedited the inevitable. It expedited us getting online. Suddenly my grandmother is on Zoom. How awesome is that? Suddenly, yesterday, I was at someone's wedding on Zoom, and that is acceptable, which is weird, but it's acceptable. I'm able to have really effective meetings on Zoom, but you need structure.
Yeah,
so that's the thing. People cannot just transition to online. They need to adapt. It's the same thing when Facebook came in. No one taught us how to suddenly integrate social media into our lives. So social media for most of the world is the worst thing they could ever have, because they spend a lot of time looking at other people's lives. And there's no classes how to use social media in your life. There's classes how to use social media to sell something or market something. No one has ever taught kids how do you use social media.
And why?
Yeah, and that's a really important lesson. And what's happening now, everybody's going online even more. We're spending a lot more time on social media. We're spending a lot more time online. But if we're thinking about like business people and office people like ourselves, we're not really office people, we're business people, where we used to maybe show up in someone's office for coffee, used to run into people at restaurants. That's not happening so much in the Western world as much. So people need to use social media. They need to use Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever to follow up with people. I call that drive-by chats, where you call someone randomly without planning, and you ask them for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very, very old. People used to do that with the old phones, rotary phones, you know, like call. Like there is no screening, there is no digital, there is no planning, there is no voice messages. Or the other one is using voice messages, using technology to allow you to build your business and build your community. Because in my business, everything connected to events and tourism, it's going online. So we managed to transition everything online education, all of our classes, all of our trainings, all of our events, everything has gone online. It's actually pretty cool. I'm happy with it. Everyone's happy. We're able to deliver results. We're able to charge people money. was still able to create that networking effect, doing breakout session, creating speed networking, allowing people to introduce themselves, giving people that comfort to be able to take time off and take a break from the event. And we see that in every industry that we're involved in. We see innovation, and if there is an innovation, people need to start thinking creatively.
Yeah, and I think this is another thing that's happened in 2020. 2020 is magnifying, amplifying the position of where people are at and their mindsets. So if they're already, have innovative mindsets, then they're getting on with the job. But those that are kind of, think that things are going to go back to normal, it's like we're just going to ride this out and wait and see. They're going to get
people
spat
keep on
out.
saying, "I'm waiting until everything is okay again." And that's those are people that are in dreamland. Things will be okay one day, but it's going to be the new normal.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like it used to be, and they should be happy about that. The first 24 hours of COVID for me, of the quarantine, was shocking because you go from a multi-million-dollar business suddenly that everything stops. Millions of dollars of liabilities and events that are planned into the future. So it's like suddenly, hey, I have an event in 6 months. And I have 1,000 people that bought tickets and flights and hotels. Like, oh, wow, that's massive. And it took me about 48 hours to really fully calm down and outline as many gifts as I see that I could have from this moment. And that's something I highly recommend to anyone who's out there, to make a list of why COVID is good for us and why.
But that's a philosophy that pulls over to every area of your life, and that's valuable for anybody in any time of their life to think like that.
In general, being able to look at the positive of any situation is helpful. But right now, there's something quite special about the situation because we're all experiencing it together. We've never in the history of our lifetime, of ever as a world, experienced something together. Which means if we're experiencing something together and there's too much negativity that's focused on it, what does the government owe me, and why is no one helping me, and why don't I have a job, and blah, 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 blah. That segment of people will continue to suffer much worse than they can ever imagine.
But that's also potentially a dangerous situation, because when everybody in the world's attention is on the one thing, then there's the potential for whoever has the influence to create any kind of narrative that they want. And that's particularly seen in mainstream media, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole on that one, but
so there's definitely a rabbit hole there with people discussing, conspiracies and agendas, and there's no need to go there because for me, the idea, I believe in chaos. So I believe that what is currently on the news cannot be the truth because there is producers and directors and writers, and there's too many people have jobs. They need to make sure the story is good enough and it looks actionable enough, and
they have to sell advertising.
Yes, and so that needs to be sold to me. 15 years ago, one of my mentors said to me to try 1 month with zero news whatsoever. I've never turned on the news since then. I don't own a TV for many, 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 many years. I don't look at the news on no TV, no newspapers, no internet. I get news from people. So I'm in a few different groups where I know what's going on in the world. So I'll know if there's an earthquake, and I'll know if there's a potentially maybe some sort of a massive bombing somewhere in the world, and I'll know if these kind of massive things happen. But if there's shootings and stuff, I don't want to know about all that. I don't want to know how many people died every single day from. I know that about 150,000 people die every single day. Okay, in the world, that's okay. They die. If I know them, I'm sorry. I kind of feel bad. But if you choose to watch the news, then that is your rabbit hole. I choose to look at the other side of what are the potentials, what are the opportunities right now, who can I serve, what kind of help can we do for people, what kind of charity can I do, who's in my community, who's in my village, what's there for me to take action on? How could I learn to become a better person because of the situation we're in?
Yeah, so I think what's happening in the world right now, I think we're going through a healing crisis, right? What do you say about that? What do you think is actually happening for humanity? Is there something you could say that is a bigger picture, or what's on the other side of all of this chaos that we're dealing with right now?
I like seeing myself as a visionary, as a futurist a lot when it comes to the networks and how networks transform. Now, some people might really, really not like what I'm going to say next, but that's okay because maybe they have a different opinion. That's okay. I love people to, disagree with me and find imperfections in everything that I say. But I think that we are going through a detox in the world.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, a lot of businesses will not survive what's coming up. Unfortunately, many people might get sick and they might not make it. I personally don't believe in masks. Masks are not healthy for us, especially the cheap masks that are sold on the streets. They're really unhealthy for us. So I believe that because people are wearing masks a lot, that actually their autoimmune system drops and they'll get unhealthier and unhealthier as time goes by. I think that it's a beautiful time to try to become healthier with food. Like stop eating junk food for 3 months and see how your body feels. Stop drinking alcohol for 3 months and see how your body feels. Just to experiment, not as a diet, not as a change of your life, to experiment to see what happens. One, you save a lot of money. And two, you feel healthier, which means your mind can actually create new opportunities for yourself. The second thing is people need to start really, really auditing their network. Because the reason that this is all happening is because we haven't managed the network well enough in the world. And the way we move around the world, there's no need to fly so much. There's no need for traffic so much. Why did we move that network? If you look at any big city from really high up, that is like a piece of technology. You see lights moving around. It is like technology. We shouldn't move as fast as technology does. That's technology's job. That's robots. We should move a little bit slower and we should move less. And we should go across the street to our neighbor's house for lunch or for dinner. And we should know who our neighbors are. I think it's awful that most people in the Western world do not know who their neighbors are. And if they do, they just say good morning. It's a fake good morning. So for me personally, I love taking the time to go for walks now and meeting my neighbors. I love that I have friends and employees in other cities, big cities, that all they did is they walk up and down their building that has like maybe 100 apartments. They knocked on doors and they said, hi, by the way, we live in this apartment. If you need any of these items, we have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like awesome. Like one guy had a massive library in his house. It's like, if any of your kids need books, we have a huge library in our house. I love that. I had a massive, massive library in our home in Moscow. We put it in storage. And a few weeks ago, I decided to give it to one of my staff members and said, these books, and you could do whatever you want with them. Like just somehow distribute them, become a free library for anyone in your neighborhood. And I think that's where the world is going. The world is going into micro nations, micro community, micro villages, where people will get to know who's around them. There'll be a lot more barter. I really, really believe in barter. In my business world, I call them strategic partnerships. I'll do something for you. You do something for me. Our clients and our community will win because of that. But no money exchange is necessary. There's value for value. I believe the idea of win-win and ethical deals are going to become a lot more popular in the world. So people need to study ethics. What is business ethics? And, how can I develop my ethical approach in business? And I think that just the business ecosystems are changing. And what I love about seeing that is ecosystems that are merging. So your ecosystem and my ecosystem will flourish so much more if they come together. And collaboration is like the name of the game right now.
Yeah, it seems like as entrepreneurs especially, we understand intellectually that it's possible for us to have a society where, it's based on us exchanging value to each other. But it almost seems like, well, that's not the world that we live in. The government controls everything. Everything's run by money, and we need to trade in that way. However, we kind of all know intellectually that it's been distorted, right? And it's kind of thrown humanity off. So do you think it's actually possible for humans to live like that in, like you said before, in villages, smaller communities? Is that actually possible? Or where do you think the relationship is between merging that kind of thinking with how we are now?
So it would be, I can't really make a forecast of when it's going to be happening, but it's happening right now already. There's many, many cultures in the world that live that way. Where I'm from, originally Israel, when I was growing up for the first 10 years of my life, across the field from my house, there were these kibbutz. Kibbutz are these old villages where people would eat together and people would get salaries from the actual community itself. And everything that happens for the community. And that's coming back. It's coming back in co-living. Co-living has been picking up, it's been becoming more and more fashionable all over the world. My friends opened one of the biggest co-living places in New York because things were so expensive there and people didn't get friends and it was difficult to build those communities. But now co-living is coming. Everything connected to sharing of resources is becoming more and more important. Like, I'd love to find a community for families, and I'm probably going to be a part of the creators of something like that, where my kids don't need to just have their toys. Why do my kids have their own toys? Why can they not share these toys? Put them in the middle in one center. Why do my kids' bedroom need to be full of toys? Why can they not have one center in the middle that's a 3-minute walk for my kid? It's safe enough for my kid to walk, right? Even though my kid is just 4 years old and the other one is a year and a half, let them walk together alone into the community center. There's another 20 or so kids. There's a few adults making sure that the kids are interacting and networking. The adults are there to really help. Schools are going to go out of fashion. Completely old style of schooling is awful for people. I failed out of schools because I think somehow intuitively my mind and body knew that sitting in a class and learning all these classes is not the way to learn. We got to teach kids creativity. We got to teach them to think outside of the box. We got to teach kids to network. It's awful that kids are afraid of other kids. This is really, really, really bad. Kids should love other human beings. They should be excited to see other human beings. And that's something that I think will be different in the coming years. People will start seeing other human beings as a potential friend and not a potential threat.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I have this overwhelming kind of belief that humanity is going in that direction. Like where we are at now in, whatever time period this is our generation, if you want to call it that, is kind of like a tipping point.
COVID era.
It's a tipping point, right? And we've got to go in the other direction. I have this overwhelming belief that we are going to go in that direction. But for a lot of people, where humanity is very, especially in the Western world, trapped in living in the matrix and keeping up with the Joneses and, paying the bills and all of that. But if somebody's got like this feeling, like they get this sense that is there, what can us as individuals do to help humanity move the needle in that direction?
So I think at least what I believe in and something that I try to teach my communities is, one, think globally. So be in a global level. So see what people in the global world are doing. If you're looking to start anything locally, see what other countries are doing. It's okay to model other countries, see what works in the world right now, and then try to model it for yourself. So global studying and thinking and learn languages is so, network globally, it's so important. And then act as local as possible. So I believe, for example, a lot of export businesses and import businesses are also going to go down. People are going to start to become self-sustained. What's around me? How can I drive for 2, 3, 5 minutes and everything I need is right there?
Appreciating almost the artisan culture of the local instead of buying everything plastic from China.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I got nothing against China, but we do not need so much of that crap. There's so much crap. I hope I could say this on your podcast out there. We don't need it. It's like, it's awful how much consumptions we have. And what's really cool about COVID time is that people consumed differently. I have friends who are running massive e-commerce businesses around the world, and they're telling me that it's really cool that people are consuming really what is needed, not what is, what they just, their eyes see. They're not going to shopping malls as much. Their kids are not just, I want. They're shopping online, which is like what I need, I buy. Maybe a little bit of what I want, but it's a lot less crap that we're consuming. And I'm really hoping that's going to bring us to a position where we get to share. I think that number one, people should audit their network. That's the first thing they should do. Number two, they should start connect with people that they haven't contacted for a while. You open up your WhatsApp chat, you scroll as many times as you can down, scroll down 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and start scrolling through people on the side. Why have I not spoken to this person in 6 months? And remember that these were amazing people that you met and you had a good connection with them. But for some reason, because your worlds were not aligned at that point, you didn't connect. Send them a nice voice message. Ask them how they are. See if you can reconnect with people that the universe brought you together for a reason. But most people, when they connect with people, they look for an immediate synergy.
It's an agenda.
Instead of just connecting with people for a nice conversation. So that's a really good way to auditing your network and start to create a new network. And then decide what do you really love to do, because I think what's going to happen now in businesses, people are going to start being paid based on how valuable they truly are to the business, not only on what their education was or what their experience is, but how valuable could you be now? Like, what value could bring me now? If you're not valuable now, please leave. Please go work from home.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more KPIs. There's going to be a lot more, what are they called? I think they're called EPOS, if I'm not mistaken. So employee or owned organizations.
Yeah.
A lot more of that in the world where, hey, this employee has ownership of something, and then they're accountable to each other. And again, this is ideal world that I'm talking about, but this is the sort of businesses I try to build. Yeah. Maybe it's not going to all happen this year, but if it doesn't happen for a lot of small and medium-sized companies, they will go bankrupt. Yeah. They will not be able to survive. They can't just pay salaries if there's no results.
Yeah, and the thing that you mentioned before about thinking globally, I really love that because it does a couple of things. And one is, I think it has us have greater respect for different cultures and different people around the world. And it removes this us versus them kind of thing. I've never run my businesses in a way where I've ever felt threatened or even need to look at competitors. I don't even believe in competitors. I just kind of do my own thing.
I get lunch with my competitors regularly. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
They're just people in the market.
Yeah. And I've never had this like us versus them kind of mentality. Because to me, I feel like that restricts me. It restricts my thinking, right? Because it means I'm not looking for solutions. It means I'm looking to protect what I've got, right? The other thing about the globalization is I think it helps people to think bigger. Right, it helps them think beyond the box that they're in right now, which then opens up new ideas and new opportunities. And especially now with what we're dealing with in 2020, and maybe we can go more into the technology side of connecting with people around the world. But I think, you were telling me earlier, this is going to be a major shift in the world in the way that people communicate and work with each other.
Already, it's exciting for me of how major it is and how as humans we must now interact differently.
Yeah. Before we go into that, I just want to paint the picture of the scale of the kind of events that you've been involved in before, just so people can get a sense of that world that you've come from. And then if we go into the technology side of that, gives it a bit of context. So you obviously spoken at a lot of events, but you're the partner for Tony Robbins in Russia and that region.
Yeah. So 6 years ago, one of my mentors. So 8 years ago, my wife and I were in a very difficult position, and we had an opportunity to bring a small group to a Tony Robbins event in order for us to fix our own life, and because we couldn't really afford to go to his event, and we found out if we become like small promoters, we can show up. And we came in with 25 people. And that business grew very, very quickly. Within 4 years, we were bringing over 1,000 people at a time to his events. And then when he came to Russia 2 years ago, we had 26,000 people at his event. And that was actually the biggest event for one single person he's ever had. And it was also a Guinness World Record in Russia for an event, a single person event. And the Russian government didn't actually like that.
So that's like including rock stars and musicians and
speakers.
Right.
A speaker.
Right.
Musicians is something else, and also sports is something else. But one person speaking, that was the Guinness World Record. They kind of said, "Yeah, you guys got that." So again, the Russian government didn't really love that because it was like, "Hey, he's American. Why is he in the Russian world record?"
With so many people there.
Yeah, that was a funny one. I got into a little bit of trouble because of that. But we've done the same thing with other speakers like Eckhart Tolle and a lot of other incredible teachers that we found around the world. I've spoken at hundreds and hundreds of events. Our company has organized over 1,000 events, from 20, 30 people retreats to 20,000 plus people, massive events for multiple days. We've done a lot of that over the years. We've understood that bringing people together, it should not just be educational, it should be edutainment. So our expertise came in and how we bring in entertainment into it, and how we bring in the food aspect, and how we bring the networking, especially the facilitated networking. We created something called the networking wall, which we ended up putting within events, and we've had a couple of thousand events that had networking walls, and that allowed people to understand who's at the event. And it really allowed people to connect with people that they really needed at the event based on what do I have to offer and what am I willing to ask for help with. And that allowed us to bring a lot of context into who's at this event really, and who is that avatar and person and member of the community that we could serve the most.
So one of the things now is that obviously, things have shifted in terms of running these big events. And one of the things that I think all of us can relate to is when you go to some of these big events, like the energy there in the room, the energy, from the speaker and the energy of being connected to people who are on a similar journey or whatever. Like that's a really powerful thing to be part of. Now, to move everything to Zoom or to whatever online platform, it mostly will kind of, you won't have that feeling, right? But one of the things you were telling me earlier is you're really excited about some of the new technology that's coming out, which is going to make it so that it's almost like you're there with the speaker and the crowd and the people there.
It was all inevitable. We've all watched movies, man. Come on. Yeah. We've all watched movies where they put goggles on and suddenly it's like a second life. Yeah. Suddenly they're there. Suddenly they're at the event. Whether it's virtual reality, whether it's holograms, it doesn't really matter. We've seen it in movies. It means it's coming sooner than later. COVID has just expedited that very, very quickly. It's like COVID double clicked. Instead of going from iPhone 8, 9, 10, 11, COVID kind of pushed us to jump, like a few years. And it really, I think that within a few months, we jumped 10 years. We jumped 10 years by the way we clean the earth. We jumped 10 years by how efficient and productive we can actually be as humans. We jumped 10 years, but how much we can actually do from home. We jumped 10 years by spending time with families and kind of being able to build a society that is truly loving and supportive. We jumped 10 years unfortunately, with divorces as well. So a lot of people are like, oh my God, okay, I don't need 10 years to wait. I want to divorce you right now. Okay, well, you don't need 10 years to wait. Why drive each other crazy for 10 years? But when it comes to technology, I love that because now I'm seeing a lot more events happening online. And people are getting great results. I'm seeing concerts online and birthdays online and weddings online. And in our industry, what Tony Robbins did, and I love that, he revolutionized the whole industry. Being able to have 20 plus thousand people in front of you in an event, you feel the vibrations of human, especially someone like Tony. If anyone's listening who has not been, highly recommend you go. The events vibrate. There's an energy, there's music. Tony himself is a giant of a human being that's amazing, but he's managed to bring it online and he's managed to create a strong enough experience that people are getting breakthroughs. People are getting a lot of value, especially if they don't sit home alone by themselves. If they bring in some energy around them, family members, friends, invite some friends over and experience a Tony Robbins event or any kind of personal development event or even a concert. You can, join a concert online today and bring some friends over and dance and have fun with them. And I think the world is going in that direction faster than ever before. And I'm personally super excited about that. I think that offline events will come back in a different degree, and I don't think anytime soon.
Yeah, and one of the probably the points around attending one of these online events is no longer one person per ticket. It's like you can get a ticket and, like you said, have a party and bring people around you.
It saves us money. It saves us travel. You can eat your food at home. You don't have to eat crap food outside.
And it allows you to share the experience with people around you that you love and you want to share that with, which then helps you embody that and embed that, what you're learning into your life.
There are so many benefits. And you're mentioning, I think, some of the fundamental ones that people these days would save a lot of money and finally go to an event they really wanted to. Sporting event, a music event, a personal development, and finally they went. But they couldn't necessarily share that with their friends and family, unless that person could also go with them and afford it. They couldn't share with their kids. Now you could share it with your family. It's to me, it's it doesn't get better than this.
Well, and in the personal development arena, quite often people who attend events by themselves almost get separated from their loved ones because they transform, and everybody around them's going, what happened? You've changed, man.
So two things unfortunately happen. One, they come home and people around them reject them, which is really bad because then you feel kind of lonely. But then what's even worse, majority of cases, people are not able to deal with the rejection. So they
retreat back.
They go back into themselves and the normal self. And hey guys, I'm back. Everything is okay. Don't worry. I'm not an inspired person anymore. I'm not passionate about my life. I'm going back to my normal, boring job.
Yeah. It's interesting. Let me change directions a little bit. You were talking before about experimenting with, for 3 months with your body and your nutrition and all these kind of things. And you were telling me that you're vegetarian. Is that correct? Vegetarian?
So Kind of, I can't really label it because I'm playing around with it. So in recent weeks, I cut out fish and eggs as well. So it's kind of a vegan.
Yeah.
But if there's a really, really good chocolate cake that has an egg in it, I'm okay with that, Like I have nothing against not eating anything specific. If there's a really good pizza, that pizza has some feta cheese, I'm okay with it. I'm going to eat it, even though I know that I shouldn't eat too much cheese in general. It's just not good for my body.
But you also haven't drunk alcohol for a number of years?
8 years.
Yeah.
So 8 years, we stopped drinking alcohol with my wife on the same day. Alcohol and meat, we stopped in the same day as a 10-day experiment just to see what would happen with our bodies. Meat, I never touched again. Alcohol, I went back to 3 times. My bachelor party, my wedding night, and then when my wife turned 30, we're like in this fancy restaurant in Barcelona, overlooking the whole city, and every single table around us has a bottle of champagne. Like, okay, maybe we're forgetting something. Maybe it's really special. Let's take a bottle. We did not miss alcohol.
Yeah. And the reason I want to raise that is because what's occurred for me out of experimenting and doing things which to me before might have seemed extreme. Like example, 10 years ago, if you said to me you would go 7 days without eating or drinking anything, you would only drink water for 7 days, I would have said, no, you're crazy. That's not possible, right? But by doing that, by doing those kind of things, it's created a paradigm for myself where I can go, well, if I can do that, what else can I do?
Of course.
Right? And I think this is really one of the important points around experimenting, as you point out, because it also allows you to tune into, to what's right for you and your body, rather than following what one person says or following this diet. Like experiment, figure out what is right for you.
But that's the same thing with everything. If you want to learn how to play the piano in the beginning, in the first 2-3 lessons, you might want to give up because you're awful at it. And you know that you need to dedicate a ridiculous amount of hours to really play well. Same thing with networking. In the beginning, I was awful at it. I did not know how to talk to women. I went on speed dating and I knew that in the first 3-5 women, I'll mess it up. It's okay. I got 5 more women. I went on online dating and I knew if I'd messed it up, it's okay. Tomorrow there's another date. I used to go to expos where you get to meet a lot of people, and every few minutes I would talk to another person. If I would mess it up, I wouldn't worry about it. The same thing is with food. When you experiment, you're challenging your body to step out of its comfort zone. Just the other day, I went climbing up a volcano mountain here. Why? To challenge my body. I'm not in the best shape that anyone could just jump up a volcano. And yes, it hurt my body. And yes, I was in a ridiculous amount of pain. But I went up and I came back down and I was successful and I was healthy and I did it. I was, okay, check. I'm able to do it. My body is still strong enough. Why not do what's not normal? Like for me, doing normal is boring. Being like everyone else is boring. It just means that their father told their father, told their father, who told my father, who told me. Why? I don't get it. It just is who told them that they're doing it right. Same thing with conversations. I think that from the research that I've done in society and communication, the way we have conversations today in society, I believe we're getting it wrong. So I think that it's better to try the new normal and to try something else and to experiment, to step out of your comfort zone. And the easiest way to step out of comfort zones is to step out of your network, to step into new networks, to meet with new people.
So what's the right way to have conversations with people?
So there isn't one right way. And it's actually a very deep conversation of what people could try to experiment with in order to see if they can get more results from a specific time frame. So people cannot just suddenly stop having the way the conversations, because then society would reject them. Society has been, brainwashed to have a specific kind of simple, normal, shallow conversation, sometimes go deep, question people, push people. It's like, we're not going to move away from that quite easily unless you're in a very, very small micro village that has a different kind of values. What I do believe people should try to do, depending if it's a family environment or an office environment, to have sharing circles where everybody gets 1 minute to speak. And you go in a circle and you pick a specific topic. Like, what are you afraid of today? What are you most excited about this week? So when people have business meetings, before they jump into the business meeting, everyone takes 1 minute and share good news. But they take 1 minute. They don't take 10 seconds. They take exactly 1 minute. They don't take 2 minutes. They take 1 minute and they try to speak. And if they don't speak, no one interrupts them. 1 minute, 60 seconds. No one interrupts them. No one stops them away. It's their time. Because unfortunately in society, we don't listen to people for more than 2 minutes. We interrupt, we jump in. So that's sharing circles. I believe that people could try that, to integrate that maybe once a day, to do a sharing circle with loved ones or business people, and masterminds.
That's a great idea to do as a business huddle with your team.
Huge,
every day.
man. Huge. Huddles are so powerful. I tend to have 20-minute meetings with my team. Like, please prepare the plans for the week. You each have 3 minutes to prepare, and that's it. Meeting is over. I don't want to talk about it. This is not that meeting is meant for each of you to speak for 3 minutes, present to us what's going on for the week, ask for help, talk about failures, talk about where you might have learned something from last week. Get it done. I call them soft reports: successes, opportunities, fuck ups, and thoughts.
Yeah, and it gives everybody who's involved the permission to be vulnerable and speak whatever's on their mind, which
it allows people the space to speak and be heard. It allows everyone else to also listen to someone, which is one of the most valuable ways that a human being could be, is just to listen to another human being. Yeah. And this is why I love masterminds. For the last 5 years, I've been launching masterminds all over the world. And my podcast is actually called the Collective Genius Code, because I believe that collectively we can actually achieve anything. Alone, we cannot achieve anything. I don't believe that anyone who's listening or yourself right now could tell me that you've done anything alone in your life, completely alone. No one could ever have nothing you have done in your life. Nothing you've done alone. And it's amazing because whenever someone tries to prove it to me, I'm like, well, someone taught you, someone inspired you, someone opened the door for you, someone helped you. There's always another human involved, and you can actually reverse engineer that into the future.
Pushed by somebody, or there's something triggered you as an 8-year-old by somebody.
There is something there, which means if we reverse engineer it into the future, every single thing we want to achieve is going to be connected to another human being, which means if we audit our current network and our current network got us to where we are today, we should say thank you to this network and then find another network or some new people that would help us get to the next level. Yeah. And that's where the collective genius comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really brilliant. I think there's some really amazing pointers here for anybody in business about understanding their own value, first of all, and understanding and listening to the value of everybody around them, and figuring out how to create to weave a fabric out of that. And it's a really powerful thing.
For me, I've learned that algorithms are not just for computers; they're actually for humans as well. So structure is not something a lot of us love. Like, I'm very much of an artist in business, so I don't flourish in structure. But when I'm structured, a lot of good things get done. A lot of good things get done as an artist of myself. And what I've done with masterminds, for example, I've created these structures using algorithms, using mathematics. And when you're using algorithms, if you go back thousands of years, where the tribe elders sat around the fire and they had something in their hand, usually it was maybe a pipe, and it would smoke that pipe, and then they would put it down, and then they would have smoke coming out of it. When the smoke stopped, that's when they stopped talking and they moved the pipe to the next person. It was all based on time.
Yeah.
The idea, again, I'm talking about smoking, the idea of puff, puff, pass that some people might understand is based on time.
Yeah.
It's all timing. There's timing. The way the what do you call them? The lights, the red, green, and yellow. What do you call those? I don't drive enough.
Traffic lights.
Traffic lights. Oh my God, look at that block. So the way traffic lights work, those are all algorithms. They tell us when to stop, when to get ready, and when to go. If we're able to create such algorithms in our own lives, how to eat and when to eat, and to eat slowly, when to spend time with kids. When we're with the kids, there is no need for a phone next to us. It's like no phone time. We, for example, in our house, we don't allow phones in any of the bedrooms. So we don't have any phones near our bedrooms. Any of the bedrooms don't get phones. So phones could be in the living room or in the kitchen area or in the outside space. So you're creating structures and rules that are not from society, that from what feels right to you. Yeah. And if people started to trust their own intuitions, man, we'd have a happy society.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to get sucked into this device and get distracted by anything. Like, my rule is I don't check my phone for 1 hour in the morning, and I put it down 1 hour before I sleep.
Nice.
And that gives me the space to wake up, with the mindset of what's most important. What am I here to do? Who can I serve today? Whereas if the first thing I was going to do is check my Instagram, the second I wake
That's
up,
bad.
it's like I
hope that
can't be
people
on purpose.
stop. I hope that people stop checking social media when they wake up, because instead of being with themselves and asking myself, how do I feel right now? What do I want to do? Right away, they check other people's lives.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking as someone who used to do that, guilty as charged. I used to do that for many, many years, but I haven't done that for too many years right now, where it's my life first. My wife is okay. My kids are okay. My hands are working. My eyes are working. I thank my body for being able to stretch. I stretch my body for maybe 30 minutes or sometimes an hour to move my body in different directions to allow my body to flourish. I eat something small, and then I say hello to the rest of the world that's out there. And I think that's so important. It's these little things that would allow us to understand that the network that's around us is not as powerful as the network that's within us. Because within us, we still have a massive network that's constantly working.
Yeah.
We need to allow it to be balanced in order for the network outside of us to also be vibrating on a similar frequency.
Very fascinating.
Yeah.
So before we close off, I've got one last question for you. But before I do that, I just want to acknowledge you, because one of the things I'm kind of picking up is that you're whether intentionally or not, it's like you're taking some ancient wisdoms and bringing it into relevancy for 2020.
We have to,
and I think it's it's such a important thing that we need to do. We need to almost go back in time to unravel. It's not to unravel technology, but how can we integrate the way that we were as humans into this new world of technology? And it feels to me like you've got a real grasp on that, and the messages that you are sharing and the way that you are teaching people through what you do with networking and masterminds, etc., is really opening up that for people. So
the only way I could teach is that I could be a better student than they are.
Yeah.
I need to continuously learn myself, because I've learned that the more I know about networking, I realize that I don't know anything.
Yeah. So one last question: if you had a one-time superpower of mental telepathy to connect with every human on the planet, languages aside, if you could connect one message to every human being, what would that message be?
So if we have to do it right now, depending on how many characters that message could be, I'm thinking text message.
280 characters.
Yeah, if I got like 3-4 words. So if it was like a few words, I would say something like live with passion, connect with love. But if it was a little bit more, I'd say, that to take advantage of the time we have on Earth right now and connect with the people that see the best in us by seeing the greatest in them.
Yeah.
And because that to me is the most beautiful thing we could do as humans is truly see incredible beauty in others around us. And that reflects back at us. And that's how we could shine as humans.
Yeah. And I think that it's so easy for us to get distracted away from that, because when we don't see it in ourselves, because we're distracted by technology, we can't see it in others. And
it's the biggest pain that most people have. They don't see value in themselves for others. They don't understand how valuable they really are. And listening to someone for 2 minutes is extremely valuable. Yesterday, someone was asking me, how do they connect with richer people than they are and people that are in power? And I just said, go every single day and sit next to a homeless person for 10 minutes and talk to them.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to network with rich people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're rich. Hey, they have wisdom. They have experience. They could teach you something.
Yeah. Awesome, Gil.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.